Well, good morning again, and welcome to the Grace Shepherd's Memo, episode 51. This is Steve Swartz. Last time I continued answering some questions that some of you have given in regards to a message I preached called A Christian's Mandate, How to Respond When Government Disappoints, and I've gotten some great questions. And I'm doing part two of one particularly specific question, which is how does our study of eschatology, our study of the end times, affect how we view and how we respond to this situation? Well, last time I looked at the part of that question that addresses how it affects you spiritually, and our conclusion was that from 1 Thessalonians 4, we ought to be encouraged by our study of the end times. And I challenged you to read the book of Revelation, start to finish, cover to cover, all in one sitting, because there's two promises in the book at the beginning and at the end that you will be blessed if you read it, and I hope you took me up on that challenge. But I wanted to address the second part of that question, and how does our study of the end times affect our view of the government? And I think this is so practical and so vital for us because all of us, to one degree or another, have been frustrated by our government. They are not perfect. They are, in I think most cases, doing their best. In some cases, certainly we see overtones of even persecution, and we see overtones of power grabbing. And I've joked many times that when people say, "Is there a conspiracy?" I say, well, of course there's a conspiracy. Because when you have people in power who are sinners, then ultimately they are going to act in ways that are self-serving at times. And so we accept that. That's just the way it is. But how does our view of the end times, how does our study of the end times affect our view of the government? Well, one of the most amazing things to find in the Old Testament, all over the place, and I'll just point out two passages in particular, Isaiah chapter 9 and Zechariah chapter 14. But in both of those chapters, there's a beautiful promise concerning government. And that promise is that someday the Lord Jesus Christ will be king over all the earth. And I know there are arguments that say that he is king over the earth now. I would argue that if he was acting as king over the earth now, then we wouldn't be in the crisis that we're in now. That's a whole nother topic for another day. Of course, that doesn't deny his sovereignty over all things, doesn't deny his total absolute control. But the fact is that the Old Testament promises that Christ will be reigning on this earth. Isaiah 9, the government will be on his shoulders. Zechariah 14, in that day the Lord will be king over all the earth, right after describing the return of Christ. So what does that do to us now? What that does to us now is it enables us to be patient. It enables us to wait on the Lord, as Psalm 27 says. And there is a great virtue to this. Psalm 27 says that it is good to wait on the Lord. It's good for your soul. So what does that do to us? What it does is it enables us to look at what can even be unjust leadership, at those who are leading in a way that's self-serving and abusing their power and so forth. And we literally can smile because we know that someday the Lord Jesus Christ will take over, and that the government will be on his shoulder. The Lord will be king over all the earth. He will right every wrong. And so as we look at how to respond to COVID, we can submit to the human government as given by God right now, because we know every single thing that they do wrong will be held to account by the Lord Jesus Christ himself. And we take comfort in that. I would urge you one more time from 1 Timothy 2 to pray for those in authority over you, to have a tender heart toward them, to care about them, because they are placed there by God, and God has commanded that we do so. Live a life that's quiet. Live a life that's minding your own affairs. 1 Thessalonians 4 speaks of that, and you will find great contentment. And as you're doing so, look ahead to the coming of Christ. Look ahead to what he's going to do someday. Look forward to this. And I guarantee you, it will change your ability to be peaceful. It will change your ability to have joy. And it will help you ride out this COVID crisis for as long as is necessary. And that is the impact that prophecy is meant to have. Well, Lord bless all of you, and we'll see you next time on the Grace Shepherd's Memo.